Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of The Guard Tower. Danny, how you been, man?
Good, Tony. How you doing?
Man, I'm always good. That's what I tell people everywhere I go. I don't know whether I'm lying to myself or trying to make them feel better that, man, this guy doesn't have a right eye. But, hey, I make him feel better.
I think seeing is believing.
Right? Danny, we're going to talk about certifications and education today, right? Within the security field, right? Well, let's start it. Let's go with the most basic, and then we'll talk about in-house versus contract, because technically it could be, there's a lot of certifications out there, but just for contract security, let's just talk about the two basics. Let's talk about the unarmed and the 16-hour, right? From my understanding, you've gone through both of them before?
Yes, sir.
Do you still have them?
No, they just expired, I think, like 6 months ago.
Really? Mm-hmm. Well, let me put a shameless plug in for my company. I always tell people that if your guard cards expire, you should always keep them going, because with those two credentials, you can actually get a job at the drop of a hat if the security company really is hiring positions. I say if they're really hiring positions because I know a lot of security companies will hire people and they don't, and that is just to get them away from that person going over to the next company and finding a real job and making that company look good. I think they call it ghosting now for employment.
Yeah.
So it's always been a weird trend that security companies do that to each other, and it's just crazy. So, but let's just talk about it. So those are the two basics, just to get into contract security companies. And then, like, if you follow my career pattern, I went to school. I got my associates in criminal justice. Thought I was pretty good at that when I had it. I opened up my business. And then a few years later, I got my bachelor's. My bachelor's is in business, and that seems to help out a lot wherever I go. To be honest, that one helped out a lot with teaching. So,
oh, really?
Yeah, I was a high school teacher at one time, and man, I was able to get a job pretty easy once I got that bachelor's, because, man, they hire for teachers all the time. It's like crazy. I don't know whether I'm going to get my master's yet or not. It's something that I've always played with, but I also don't feel like putting that much time into it, man. Like,
it's a lot of work. It's a ton of work.
Well, then, like, I ask myself, like, I don't want to sound like I'm there, but what's it going to do for me? Yeah, how much more is it going to make me? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to be a professor at a college, so that's the only way I'm going to get there. But I'm getting too old and getting too much into different things.
I know some of them professors are on death's doorstep right now, so you might be young compared to some of the Gandalf and Dumbledore types that are out there. So
when it comes to education and certifications, I'm also what they call a CPP, a Certified Professional Protection Person, and that's through ASIS. That is supposed to be the top credential. I don't know, because we're going to talk about more credentials. I'm just saying what ASIS is saying.
Yeah.
So if you look it up, that's the gold standard for security professionals. The good thing about that one, and I don't know if you've ever heard of that one, have you?
I don't think so, no.
The good thing about the CPP, have you ever heard about the Homeland Act?
Yeah.
Right, the Homeland Safety Act? The good thing about being a CPP is that it equals the Homeland Security Act, right? So what the Homeland Security Act basically does is covers an entity in case a terrorist attack was to happen on their property. They can only get sued up to so much. Well, if an organization gets that, like the courts, right? Say something happens at the courts and it's a bloody shootout, and then when it's done, it's considered a terrorist attack. Well, people can only sue your entity, the courts, for so much now. Like, it's limiting the liability. Well, the CPP basically says that you're covered under the Homeland Act now. So that's one of the advantages of having it. And then if you look at ASIS, there's a lot of different certifications. There's like APP. There's they do something with systems. I forget the name of that one, but they have that one. It's a great organization, as a matter of fact, in order to join. And then, man, now that we're talking about certifications and educations, we could talk about organizations and all that stuff. Because one of the things that I made my team join was called it's called InfraGard.
Mm.
Have you guys heard of that one?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it is, though.
Oh man, if you join it, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, join it. It'll take you a little while to get approved, but man, once you do, you get a wealth of knowledge, man.
Okay.
I mean, and it's all coming from government agencies.
Yeah.
So it's all top-notch stuff. I'm surprised they don't make you guys join that.
No.
No? Well, before I go too far, what do they have you do in the courts for education and certification?
So, I guess for us, it's a little bit different because we work for the municipal PD. So even our command structure, up until recently, we had a commander that was actually from PD. So we work for the PD. So we have to basically do, as far as like tests and keeping up on certifications and stuff, we have to do some of the same ones they have, but we don't have to obviously go through a lot of the physical stuff. It's mostly like written. A lot of times it's just reading through certain tests or certifications that are more knowledge based, and just kind of checking the box at the end and saying, okay, yeah, I understand this, I read this. So that's how we keep up with ours. But up until recently, that was the case, and now, even though we still do work for the PD, we have a new administrator, and so she's actually over detention as well, and they have their own in-house kind of training certification I guess team, let's say. So I think we're going to end up going through them from now on, even though we're still going to have to check the boxes on a lot of those PD documents that are for knowledge base. I think the actual physical training stuff, I think we're going to start doing with detention. So that's a little bit in flux right now, and it's changing. But
did you guys have to go through that 40-hour superior court?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah, we did a shortened version of it, though. I think we did 3 days. But it was good. It was I think everyone on our team who's been through it was surprised how winded they got during the physical part at the end.
Really?
When you're actually doing DT. Yeah, because some of these guys are, not to say they're not totally capable of doing their job, but some of these guys have been retired for a very long time.
Oh, yeah.
And so
yeah.
some of them are in their, mid-60s or whatever, and even though they're in good shape, it's like, okay, well...
Well, they're in good shape for a 60-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll say it for you.
I'm in good shape for a 60-year-old, but yeah. It's... Yeah, so that was fun, but it was good to see that that some people didn't actually get through it. So they were, at least the standard was there, where there were some folks that unfortunately they had to come back and recycle because they just couldn't quite do the DT stuff at the end, or they couldn't get the pass on the written test.
What about the X-ray? The X-ray machine?
That stuff was easy for us because we actually trained that internally first before we ever went to Superior. So we already had all that stuff. The only thing we don't usually do where we're at is, it's funny because with the wand, they have you like non-dominant hand, reach out, and
like a 45 degree
like you're
angle.
Ready to,
offhand.
No one I work with has ever done it that way, but you have to train it that way. Yeah,
2 inches off the body.
Yeah. Half the time we're like, we're kind of doing slightly a pad check on, so we might be pushing up a little bit on a pocket or something, and which is okay and is allowed. You just want to be careful not to do it too much, because people get a little irked by that if you're rubbing a wand along their their side. Yeah,
and then you can't go higher than the thigh area.
Especially if they're ticklish.
Yeah.
Then it's weird.
Well, if you don't know what we're talking about, Superior Court and most court entities usually go to a 40-hour training program. that was only instituted maybe a few years ago. I used to train Superior Court individuals way back in the day, and there was a real smart cat by the name of Clay Paxton. Um, that guy was amazing, man. I mean, he's like one of my biggest idols when it comes to training. He had that idea 20 years ago, and it was amazing to finally see it come to bearing only 4 or 5 years ago. Like before that, court people really never received any training. Like,
that's scary. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they would just say, "Oh, come on down and learn." And then what I learned was that a lot of people had issues with the X-ray machine.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out what it was, especially if you turn a pistol to the side. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it made it real hard. So,
yeah.
you guys get qualified on the baton? Do you guys require any type of education, experience, bachelor's?
I think well, you do the same background check that the PD does. So since PD is the one that literally hires our unit, or it goes through them ultimately, we have to do basically the same background check. They don't have to do, even though I did it because I was going into the academy first and then I went over to municipal. They don't do the polygraph on our guys if they're coming directly, but they still do the full background check, and including the questions, with your background investigator. So that's vetted pretty well. But as far as like training and certification, if you're coming straight in to the municipal security unit, then it's like all internal until you get out to that superior class that you were talking about, which usually takes a few months. So a lot of times we're just the senior people who've been around the longest are training the new guys, which is pretty normal, right? For me though, I had gone through part of the police academy and then into municipal security, so they didn't really. All I really had to learn when I got there was the X-ray machine, the metal detector wand, and then basically just more customer service as far as interacting with lots of different types of people, which we'll get more into that later on. But for the guys who are coming straight in, it's all kind of OJT until they go to that superior class. Yeah.
Well, what about FEMA classes? Do you guys have to take any type of FEMA classes?
Not that I can remember. We do have and this kind of involves everybody at the court sometimes. We had a bunch of ER nurses come in and do a stop the bleed.
Oh, I forgot about stop the bleed
class for a few hours. Yeah, and then after they did that, they actually posted kits around the building that have color charts on them for some of the different things that we deal with, and or at least that you would with some kind of open wound. And so it was nice that they kind of involved the whole building in that. We would have done it regardless, but it's stuff like that comes up periodically where my boss's boss, our lieutenant, I believe, basically is what he is. Great guy, and he likes to get as much of that as possible. So if we can do something like that, quarterly or every 6 months or something, he'll try to get it instituted. Sometimes it's just the red tape of the people above him,
sure,
that he's kind of dealing with. But
hey, this is what I tell people too for certifications. Look for FEMA. It's FEMA.gov. They'll take you to the Emergency Management Institute. You'll get all kinds of free training there. I tell people start off with the basics. They got Incident Commander you can take, which is free, which you can add to your resume. They have a free active shooter class that you can add to your resume. And then the big one is, NIMS now, National Incident Management System. That's the one that people want. But they're all free. So I'm really surprised that your court doesn't require you guys to have that. That's a pretty basic one. That's a pretty basic one.
As far as FEMA, what FEMA offers?
Yeah.
Yeah,
because it's all Incident Command and NIMS. You would think that if something were to pop off, that pretty sure the police department would follow an Incident Command system. I'm surprised that they wouldn't have you guys integrate into something like that, depending on how bad it is.
Yeah, I think part of that is just the internal process, because we have we have a real time crime center in the building, um, and so that's kind of half civilian, half sworn. So we have them there, and then we have direct radio contact with PD as well. And so I think the expectation for us is that we would, you know, we respond immediately, but we're responding to an emergency, but then we're we're informing the PD and the real time crime center and dispatch of the emergency, and so we're more of just kind of the mouthpiece in between the incident and then the responders. And so like we've gotten to do um, an active shooter drill with PD. So we did it in the building. They had to shut down pretty much the whole block, you know, just to make sure nobody. So the proficiency guys were there with their cameras and their fake, you know, their blanks and stuff, and so we got to participate in that. But by the end of the scenario, it was pretty obvious that like the scenario itself was more for the 3 officers that were running in to hopefully take out the active shooter or stop the threat, right? We were sort of just the middleman in between when the guy came into the building and when those 3 officers got there. And thankfully our sergeant, he's prior PD, so his radio communication was just like spot on. So he was able to kind of communicate everything that was going on in the building over the radio. So the officers knew exactly where they needed to go, what needed to happen. So even though he's part of our municipal security unit, his communication is ultimately what gives them, you know, the safest entry, I guess, or ingress. And so, yeah, we're very much the middleman in between them, I think.
Well, I think it's great that you guys had a sergeant there,
yeah,
who could communicate.
Yeah.
But what happens the day that he's gone for the week?
Yeah, if he's out sick, yeah.
I mean,
that's true.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's a great point, because even if you guys aren't a part of that specific unit, or you're not the sergeant or anything like that, it's good to get the training so at least you can fill in those gaps.
Yeah.
And then you are also informed. I think the informed people, it's way better off than the uninformed. Because you have training, you're not necessarily in charge of things when something happens, but at least you're trained to know who might be in charge and how to help and assist.
Right.
And that's for every job, not...
Yeah.
But you mentioned Stop the Bleed. If you're listening and you haven't taken a Stop the Bleed course yet, do it. It's free. Just look it up, Google it. It's basically a tourniquet class. I think that's another great certification that people can pick up and then put on their resume. I'm a big resume guy. So I know that people say, oh, you know, anybody can embellish a resume. But I like to know that at least I know what people are talking about. That's why I take so many classes. As a matter of fact, I just dealt with a sales rep from a medical company, and they were suggesting that we put 6 AEDs on this floor.
Wow.
And I was like, where are you getting that from? And then the response back was with OSHA. OSHA says that it's mandated this way. But I've learned enough in my travels, because of all the classes that I've taken, that there is no such mandate from OSHA. They just say that you should have it within 90 seconds of a spot. Yeah. So I was very, very agitated with that salesperson this week, to the point where I asked to speak to their boss, and still haven't heard from him. So I got to figure that out. But hey, I like to know. I like to have the basics of when I walk into something. That way I know that they're not lying to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, oh, you need this, you need that, you need this. Oh, okay.
I'd have been like, hey, you would make a really good used car salesman, by the way.
Right. I mean, because those AED machines aren't cheap. I mean, and then they do a monthly fee. So I'm like, all right, whatever.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So, but back to education and certification. I think depending on how long you're going to be in the security field, I think maintaining a bachelor's is good. It's going to take some money to get there. It's going to take some time to get there. But then let's just talk about certifications too. I mean, what I've learned in this field is there's so many different certifications. Like we both have that mutual friend behind the microphone. I mentioned earlier he got his private investigator course through Penn Foster. I think it frustrated him a little bit more than what he thought when he first tackled it, but he got it. He's That's approved awesome. Now, private investigator. It's another notch on his resume, mm-hmm. You know. And
yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I got a confession though, Danny, on that one, man. I got a confession on that one, dude. Dude, I saw a job for him that met that criteria, but I didn't tell him, dude. I didn't tell him. I didn't tell him.
Not wanting to lose your best guy.
No.
It's hard to blame. It's hard to blame that, right?
Yeah, I can't afford that, man. I can't afford that as an entity. I can't afford that. But it was everything that he's been striving for. And then we also got our private investigator cards through the Department of Public Safety. Mm. So that was another notch on both our belts. That actually I'm actually amazed on how much weight and what people perceive with that certification. Yeah. You know, because, you know, once you tell them, oh, I'm a private investigator through the state of Arizona, man, people are like, oh, yeah, you really can investigate something, huh? Yeah. And I'm like, I'm the same person I was last year. You know what I'm saying? So, like, man.
But now you're the PI. Say you're
man.
Tony the PI. Man, you need to get you a fedora.
Man, I'm telling you, like, I'm surprised that it goes so far. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm like, wow. And people really, like, they're like, that's a pretty big credential.
I don't think I could handle that type of mental game that happens when that. Since if I had the private investigator card, I think I would be in a dark room somewhere with like a glass of scotch and a cigar with a fedora and the full blazer, and people would be like, "What the hell are you doing?" I'd be like, "I'm a PI now." Just like, hey, you have to do some actual work.
A movie persona.
See, but I would go with the Roger Rabbit persona. I would be like, oh, you know.
Wasn't it what's his name in Who Framed Roger Rabbit? The
investigator.
The PI,
yeah.
Yeah,
so,
that's funny.
Yeah, I would go with more of that route, but hey, that's just me. And then I'm trying to think of the different certifications that I've had my team go through. My team right now is really well qualified. I would take my team's credentials and knowledge against any corporate team across the nation, because you know what? I also got them. There's free active shooter instructor courses, but you actually become a certified instructor.
Nice.
Yeah, free, and that one's through Texas A&M. So if you have a chance, look that one up. Put that on your resume, man. That's a big one. That's a big one. So I got a couple of those instructors now. I got CPR instructors. I'm trying to think, what else do we have?
The InfraGuard. I think that's all of us. Yeah. And that one did take forever, man. What did we sign up in June or July, and we didn't see anything till December, January.
But I'm telling you, it's huge, Danny. I'm telling you, man.
Yeah.
Join that one, dude.
So I pulled it up on my phone once you mentioned it. Be that one, right? That one at the top, right there.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you.
Yeah.
Good tip.
If you could put it,
FEMA,
like on our website, how to get there. That'd be great. Or on this recording, that'd be great. Because I'm telling you, it's a wealth of knowledge and it's free.
Yeah.
And then I don't know what they do, but I think they do some kind of mini background on you. Mm. So if you're a member of that, you're going to be pretty well off, man. And then build your resume that way. And then another one that's actually a really good organization to belong to is it's called ATAP. It's something threat assessment professional. I forget what the A stands for, but that one or that organization's real hard to get into. You got to actually be sponsored by somebody.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that one's real hard to get into, just because me and people don't get along. So they don't want to sponsor me too much. So you know.
For your next birthday, I'm going to get you the book that what's the title? How to influence, how to make friends and influence people.
I'm all good though.
That's the level up.
I'm all good. So yeah, no, it's amazing. And then what I find really strange about the security field is that there are so many different aspects of security that people can go into.
Yeah.
I always tell people there's a security company here in the Valley. Her whole company is just drug sniffing dogs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The schools pay her to go into their campuses and look for drugs.
That's
and
awesome.
She makes a great business out of that. Like,
yeah.
So, but I mean, I don't know how good the dogs are. I would probably take my pit bull and then every once in a while shake her to make her, there's drugs in this locker. So,
I was gonna say, I wonder what the overhead is on actually training the animals. I'd be curious to see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you know how else she makes a lot of good money at? Bed bugs. Bed bugs.
Was she prior canine trainer or anything?
She just bought the company.
Gotcha.
So
do they sniff out bed bugs or just getting rid of bed bugs? Like,
no, they sniff out bed bugs.
do they? Wow.
Yeah, they don't touch bed bugs. They just sniff them out.
That's crazy.
But think about it though. If you're a hotel chain,
yeah,
man, I'd be like, I'd certified dog sniffer come in and we don't have bed bugs. Period.
I think a lot of the hotel chains though, they want it to be as like secret as possible when it happens. So the one I used to work at, there was one room that got bed bugs, and it was almost like you couldn't say anything about it. They were like, "This is like, do not mention this to anybody." And the one room, the guy had to come in through the back, who was gonna spray and take care of it. He had to come in through the back. I know it's shady, right? He had to just like sneak in to the one room and
We'll talk after.
Yeah, they didn't inform anybody. Yeah.
Yeah, man. I'm like, what are you talking about?
You give me more information on that one.
Yeah. Well, the manager at the time was later fired for unrelated reasons, or at least on paper, unrelated reasons. But now they're a completely different chain. They rebranded the whole building, new management, everything. So they're not around anymore. But yeah, she was a piece of work, that one.
Yeah, that's Danny, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Stay in Vegas here pretty soon.
Sorry, man.
Yeah, man, that's not good, man. That's not good. But that would be gross, though.
Yeah,
I fly around all the time, and it scares me. Swear, I'm like, oh.
Just bring your own fitted sheet, and just everywhere you go, and just put it over. It has to be an extra large one. Just put it over the bed. You're good. Or a plastic. Plastic cover. There you go.
No, like, well, I mean, and then like, well, let's see if you talk about hotel security. I'm surprised that like people don't understand like hotel security is like its own specialized field. You probably would need special training for that, like how to deal with people. I think we're going to talk about it on the next episode on how to deal with people and what they're going through, and it would be amazing. But I'm just amazed on how many niches there are in the security field, like here, like I said, I know that it's my passion to talk about school security. I mean, look how well trained a true security professional needs to be on a campus. You know, everything that you'd have to deal with, and then if they start passing these House bills where they're going to say that they could get trained, which, by the way, we're ready for it whenever you guys are ready to come get trained. We're going to offer that 40-hour training. We already have the curriculum built and all that stuff.
Nice.
And then, like I said, I have to give like a shameless plug for my own company too. Sooner or later, we're going to make this into a school. Like that's the natural progression of where we're going to, where you can get an associate's in. We're going to call it a certified protection. I'm sorry, we're going to call it a certified security supervisor or something of the fact, where you're going to, what do we call it? A certified security coordinator. I couldn't even remember the name anymore. My gosh. Where you could get a bachelor's or a certificate where you actually went through some training, where we can package up everything that we talked about and, you know, make it a real school.
Yeah.
That way people can, you know, say that they went through some real training. So it's, but that's my long-term dream for my company.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's where we're going to. And believe it or not, it's actually pretty easy to get the process done. We just need to have the time to sit down and do all the paperwork, because that's what it is. It's just paperwork. So, but the man behind the microphone knows I'm a big proponent of ChatGPT, which is making my life easier.
Just wait till you can put that into an Optimus bot, and the bot can sit at your desk and just like fill things out for you
and write everything out.
Hey, how's it going?
Wow. Have you used ChatGPT?
Only a little bit, not to the extent that our producer has.
Oh, he must be following in my. He must be following. He must be following in my footsteps, because I come back every once in a while. Look what I did.
It can act dumb sometimes, like for a smart AI system. So I've learned enough to identify what makes it dumb and what makes it smart. The proper way to use it. But yeah, it's a good tool. It's a good research tool too.
Oh yeah,
very good research tool.
Oh yeah. I'll come back Monday mornings because I'm bored at the house on Sunday, and I'm like, look what I wrote. And then they're like this. Did you really write that? Did you? And I'm like, well, I cut and pasted.
There's a ton of books now, digital books and audio books that are being released that are like 90% written by an AI, and that other 10% is basically just edits that the authors put in. And I'm not hating on them for doing that. I mean, if they come out with a quality book and they use that process, then, you know, it's like if I get, but when you read something, if it's an instructional book on something you know nothing about, I think that becomes kind of an ethical issue, because you're like, okay, did you read through it and make sure that everything that it says is correct, or you just try to sell a book?
My problem is that you know me, so you know how I talk, you know my mannerisms, so then when I print something out, it is not me. It is not.
Yeah, that's how we got my brother in a bunch of text messages. He would always send them through the group, and we're like, at no point have you ever sounded like this. So what what AI are you using?
My business partner's like, okay, stop. Like, you need to stop answering people, because this is not you.
That's
okay.
Funny.
Especially if like you're not a poetic guy, but out of nowhere you start writing something poetic to somebody.
Eloquent.
Happy birthday, and it's just this eloquent birthday wish. Like, no.
Oh yeah, no, it's pretty funny. Yeah, my business partner's like, okay, you didn't have to write that proposal that way, because I don't think they understood it, and I didn't either. So I'm like, well, it's black and white right there.
It's up here. He's like, it's up here. I need you down here.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty hilarious. So.
It's a good tool, though. It's a good tool for sure.
Oh yeah. No, I really amazed. Like, we have another class going on right now, and you know, these people are just hitting the tip of the iceberg of security and what it entails, and the things that you can do. I really love my job, but it's taken me a long time to get into this type of position and to do what I do on a daily basis. And then I have to give a shout out. I mean, hiring the right crew too makes a huge difference. But then you have to learn a lot on who to hire, and sometimes you make mistakes. Sometimes, but you know. It is what it is. But these guys are just hitting the tip of the iceberg. They're just getting their guard cards. And then a lot of them won't even get their arm cards. But, you know, they'll find out sooner or later if it's something that they want to work in. All the different types of stuff. So, all right. Well, hey, Danny, we'll catch you on the next episode. And hoping everybody can understand what we're talking about, education and certifications and especially associations, but get your resume up ready. If you need help with it, just reach out to me. I can help you out with that, no problems. But other than that, Danny, we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Tony.
All right. Bye.